Hey everybody, so we're here at the RV repair shop in Colorado. We've been dealing with the accident for about a month now. If you're not familiar with what happened, you can check out the video here. But today we wanted to talk about RV parks and campgrounds. So in the past, Katie and I haven't stayed at a ton of them, and in the future we're not sure how many we're going to stay at because we are on the West Coast and we plan on doing a lot more boondocking. But we still thought it was important to share the experiences we've had with you now anyway, because if you find yourself in the same area, you can decide, hey, that's a place I want to check out, or hey, that's not a place I want to check out. And that brings us to today's topic, which is a place that's near and dear to our heart, and that is Mountain View Campground in Hiawassee, Georgia, nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Now, before I get into the pros and cons, I want to touch base on how Katie and I found the location and why we decided to stay there, and also a little bit of history on the campground itself. So we were at Don Carter State Park, which you can check out that video here, and we were looking for a place that was midway to North Carolina, and not necessarily midway, but on the way. And we were looking for a place that had full hookups, accepted Passport America and escapees, and also had great Wi-Fi. So we did what anyone would do, and we hit the internet looking for an RV park or campground that would work for us. And one thing we noticed is probably something you've noticed, and that's that there's a lot of RV park and campground websites out there that are pretty rough. They're not very clean or easy to look at, and the information isn't very informative. Speaking of which, if you're looking for help with a website, definitely reach out to Katie. But anyway, as we kept digging, we came across Mountain View Campground's website, and it was like a breath of fresh air. It was extremely clean. It had a ton of great information on the campground itself, as well as the surrounding areas, and they even had awesome drone footage that gave you a really good idea of what the campground looks like. So after we saw that, Katie reached out, and the phone call went just as good as the website did, so we went ahead and booked for 3 days. And after we got up there, the vibe we got from the website and the phone call continued over to the on location, and after 2 days there, we ended up rebooking for another 2 weeks, and then after that another 2 weeks, and then when it was all said and done, we ended up staying at Mountain View Campground for a little over 2 months. Now, we were really satisfied with our stay, and there is a lot of history to the campground as well. So back in the late 70s, early 80s, a couple had actually purchased the land and turned it into a campground. Interesting side note, the gentleman owner of the campground who started it actually worked for the CCC, who helped build Vogel State Park, which was one of the first state parks in Georgia. But anyway, they ran the campground for a long time, really building a community of people that wanted to come to the campground as another place like home. And then a few years ago, the gentleman actually passed away, so the campground sat unused for a few years until November of 2016 when Damien and Mike purchased it and took it over. And since then, they've been bringing it back to life and building the same sense of community and a second home that was there in the campground before. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the pros. All right, let's dive into the pros, and in order to do that, we're going to break it down into 3 different aspects. First is your basics, second is location, third is community. So for your basics, Mountain View Campground pretty much has it all. They have full hookups for RV, that's water, power, sewer, cable. They also have tent campsites if that's what you're looking to do, including free laundry on the site for anybody that's camping there. And the Wi-Fi is absolutely amazing. It's the best Wi-Fi experience we've had at a campground since we've been in our RV. They have extenders set up throughout the RV park, so you're able to get good signal pretty much everywhere. Security there is really good as well. They have multiple cameras up, and they do have a live feed of that directly to the website, and they have weather monitoring equipment put up at the RV park, so you're able to actually look on the website as well to see what the weather's doing and what's going on with that. Really awesome there. Now, as we move on, we'll go to stage number 2, which is location. And the location of Mountain View Campground is really awesome. I mean, you are right in the mountains. When we looked out, actually this window right behind me every day, we could see multiple layers of mountains right out the window. Not to mention that it's pushed up against a mountain, so it's absolutely serene. Location is money. And then when you talk about necessities that are around you that you need, there is an Ingles grocery store within 10 minutes, a whole bunch of fast food options within 10 minutes, hardware store. The closest Walmart's about 30 minutes away. That's not too bad. So you're able to get whatever necessities you need pretty easily. And as far as exploring, there's a ton of things within 45 minutes. Brasstown Bald, which is the highest point in Georgia, is about 30 minutes away. Bell Mountain's about 10 to 15 minutes away. You have Vogel State Park, which is about 35-40 minutes away. The Foxfire Museum is about 45 minutes away. Tallulah Gorge State Park. There's a ton of options and a ton of things you can go see right from your home base. And me and Katie definitely took advantage of that for the 2 months that we were there by getting out to see quite a bit. Also, North Carolina is only about 15 minutes away as well. So as far as getting out and exploring what northern Georgia has to offer, it seems like a pretty good central location as far as that goes. Now, number 3 is community, and this was probably the biggest one for me and Katie. I mean, from the moment we pulled in, we really felt like we were a part of the community, whether it was Damien and Mike, the owners of the location. They brought us in on our first night. They invited us to come over to the community campfire, which overlooks the mountain range and has Adirondack chairs that Mike actually built right there so that we could just sit down and have a good conversation by the fire, overlooking the mountains, having some s'mores. It was a great opportunity just really to become part of the community. And then on top of that, you look at the seasonal campers that are there. They're all extremely friendly and really bring you in. I built some lifelong friendships there with some of the seasonal campers. One group of the seasonal campers actually rented a pontoon boat, and we went out on Lake Chatuge, which is about 10 minutes away from the RV park as well, on the pontoon boat. It was a great day, a really awesome day, being on the lake, seeing the mountain ranges in the background. The only problem with that day is I did lose my sunglasses by jumping in the water with them on, which they were my favorite pair in the history of my life, and now they're gone at the bottom of Lake Chatuge. We won't get into that. Anyway, they also have the music barn, which is really awesome as far as the community goes. When we were there, we were actually lucky enough to be there for the grand opening event, where Wyatt actually came in and performed. And Wyatt is actually the grandson of the previous owner, and he grew up, I believe it was 1983, he moved to the location and grew up there. So he did a lot of clogging and music things in the music barn. So for him to be able to come back and perform for all of us, it was awesome. He was playing the fiddle. Right up Katie and my alley. It was awesome. Now, the music barn also doubles as a movie theater, where they do have movie nights. A couple times they had kids movie nights for the kids in the campground, and then they do play normal movies as well, and it's really awesome experience. They have great sound equipment and great screen and really good seats in there as well. But one of the things that really stood out the most was Mike and Damien and the way they took care of the campers that came in. There were multiple occasions where they would show up with a cake and tell everybody to come over, and we would celebrate a couple's 60th wedding anniversary or their 45th wedding anniversary. Or on Easter Sunday, when all of us that were there in the campground really didn't have anything planned, we woke up to them cooking breakfast and making honestly the best blueberry pancakes I've ever had in my life. And Damien even made them vegan for Katie. It was awesome. And there were multiple occasions where they did this, had cookouts for everyone at the campground and things like that, really bringing everyone together. It was just totally awesome. And we would definitely recommend, if you're in northern Georgia, that you swing by Mountain View Campground. It's definitely an experience to be had. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the cons. All right, now that we're done with the pros, let's go ahead and dive into the cons. And to be real honest with you, the cons list is quite a bit shorter than the pros for us, which is kind of obvious considering we ended up staying there for a little over 2 months. But number one was the driveway. When we first pulled in, it was quite bumpy, so we had to take it pretty slow getting up into the actual RV park. Now, later on, we actually ended up talking to Mike and Damien about it, and they informed us of the history of the driveway. So the previous owner, back in the day, there was a bridge that was destroyed, and he ended up taking that old material and bringing it over and making the driveway out of that old destructed bridge. So that's some pretty rich history there. And at the same time, we also did talk to Mike and Damien about it, and they said that they do have plans to smooth the driveway out while still highlighting the reused material from the old bridge. So that's going to be pretty cool. And if you're watching this, it may not even be an issue by the time you cruise over there. Now, second was once we got up into the RV park, at first the site seemed a little bit tight, but once we got backed in and everything was set up, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, even when we had campers on both sides of us, it still felt relatively private, and it wasn't like we were right on top of each other. So looks can be deceiving in that regard, but something you may want to pay attention to. And lastly is it's not like a huge RV resort where you're going to have like a pool and basketball courts or anything like that. And for me and Katie, that didn't really matter so much. The most important thing for us was on-site laundry, and we were going to be spending most of our time out exploring. But if you're looking for a place with a pool and basketball courts or whatever else you're looking for, just something to keep in mind. But that about wraps it up for our cons, and let's go on real quick to our overall experience and thoughts. Based on our pros and cons, we absolutely loved our stay at Mountain View Campground. We definitely suggest if you're cruising through the North Georgia mountains or the Blue Ridge Mountains, swing by, say hello to Mike and Damien for us. Now, whether you're looking for state parks, hiking, biking, boating, even the Appalachian Trail's right next door, and it's kind of right in the middle of a ton of different outdoor activities, so something to keep in mind. At the same time, hanging out at the music barn for a cookout or live music was really awesome while we were there, and now that they're booking gigs, they're getting live music in almost every single weekend, so if that's something you're into, you can check that out. Overall, what we would suggest is if you're cruising through the North Georgia mountains and you're looking for a place to stay, definitely consider Mountain View Campground. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link to their a link in the description box to their website, as well as one to our post with more information in case you're looking forward to checking it out a little bit more. But anyway, we hope this helps you out in making your decision where to stay. We thank you for swinging by. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.